I've made another one of my patterns here. And I made this piece of 1.5 inch foam. I've got it cut out to fit over my knees, and I got it angled on the bottom to fit up against the chine log, and it's going to go on the outside. I still need room to get to the outer tank hold down brackets. There's my fuel fill hose. I've got that run through a hole in my back piece for the deck. They have to have positive ventilation with inside gasoline tanks. I've got some 3-inch fiberglass tubing, and there'll be one of these on each side. I've got a blower here. This one's a little Detmar 12-volt blower, but it's 170 cubic feet per minute, 3-inch blower. And that'll go on the top of here. Got some holes in the boat for my scuppers. Got my back deck piece inside the house here. It's just too cold to glue out there. Well, I'm making a big mess. These are the main pieces for my outboard bracket, 3-inch angle iron. I got a little ring of cotton twine under the head of each one. And this is the mess I'm making. That's good stuff there. Glass tape on all the seams here. It's glued in place with epoxy resin. 9-degree PVC wire conduit pieces glued and glassed onto here that are going to route the fuel lines from the fuel tank up through the deck. Well, I used my 2 quarts of polyfoam. Kind of disappointing. Didn't even fill it all the way up. That worked pretty well. Took 4 cans to fill it on both sides. It's May 16th. We finally got some good glassing weather. I'll be laying down 4-inch tape on all the corners, because that's what takes the most wear, and it'll strengthen the hull to deck joint. And then a layer 6-ounce cloth with the laminating resin. The upper decks now have 2 coats of epoxy primer. I've got my forward hatch combing on. The roundhouse is all primered. If I get one more in, we can pull it in and put a clamp on the back. Forward section of the rub rail are on. Sikaflex. And there's my squeeze out. I'm using a step scarf. I'm making my eyebrow moldings for the roundhouse. I cut a piece of that teak 1 5/8 wide, sliced it into 3 1/4 inch thick pieces, and soaked it with boiling hot water and wrapped it around the roundhouse. It's now June 16th and I've actually made quite a bit of progress. Rub rails are all on now. And the stern compartment is all sealed and primed and painted gloss white. The underside of the back deck pieces are also now gloss white, as are the bottoms of the fuel tank platforms. I've got the plug cutter in the drill press. I'm cutting plugs to plug the screw holes in the rub rail. It's now the 4th of July. Hatch is all glass and painted, hatch and coaming glass and painted. You know, sometimes it seems like you just work your tail off and you just don't get much done. Well, 4th of July weekend 2010 was not that. Months of work now come together and I have my fuel tanks installed, fastened in place. This is the vent line. It's going through its little elbow there, and that'll come up to a vent fitting on the transom after this is all finished. And the fuel line is going through its little elbow too. It's the feed for the starboard tank to the selector valve there. This is the filter. This line will be going out through the scupper to the engine supply. So this pointing up is drawing from the port tank. The middle is shut off. Down is drawing from the starboard tank. So that's all in. That's pretty exciting stuff. I've got all my wiring in back here now. The bilge pump, fuel tank, fuel level senders. While stuff's been drying, I'm working on my outboard bracket. I've got it glassed with that biaxial cloth, same I used on the hull. Where the bolts are going through, I've got it doubled. I was going to try to do all three, but this wood is just so darn stiff I couldn't close up all the gaps. So I just did these 2 layers, then I'll do the inner layer later. These are the deck pieces. I've got them all sealed, all the edges and all the plywood areas. I now have a back deck. 3rd lamination. Outboard mount is sanded, clamped in place and drilled for the mounting bolt. This is the biaxial cloth laid out on the deck. It's August 28th now and I have the outboard bracket on. This back deck is finally finished. Got the tough coat rubberized non-skid on the lower and the upper decks. The roundhouse has 2 coats of gloss white, and then the foredeck and the top of the hatch is painted with the tough coat non-skid. And the outboard mount is finished. It's all glass, primed and painted. It's now September 9th, 2010. And we've done about everything we can do to the boat inside the shop. And it's getting late in the season, but it's not over yet. So it's time to move her out onto the trailer and start putting up the cabins, and that's what we're going to do now.